Tyler Glasnow is back, and after getting rocked in the first inning, he completely flipped the script. The Dodgers just got a huge boost for October.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Harry Ruiz. That's Travis Rodgers, and it's time for Locked On Dodgers. On today's show, the questions surrounding Dodgers majority owner Mark Walter continue to generate plenty of conversation. Will Smith started his rehab assignment in Oklahoma City with a home run, but first, Glasnow got better as the night went on. His first inning in nearly 4 months, far from what you were hoping to see. Atlanta got him for 3 runs in the opening inning, and suddenly you're watching a guy who hadn't pitched in a major league game since May, wondering how quickly he can get himself back into a rhythm. Heck, Travis, for a while I was thinking, is he even going to get out of that first inning? And boy, did he did. After that, smooth sailings for the most part until the 5th inning where he got into a little bit of trouble. But Tyler Glasnow, he just needed to get those jitters out of that body, get that rust out of him. And now he looked like the Tyler Glasnow that we saw before he got hurt in May.
Yeah, I think, we mentioned it yesterday, right? I think that another good reason to be an everydayer at Locked On Dodgers is don't expect this to be Blake Snell. Don't expect him to just hit the ground running and just tear through people like Snell has done in his handful of starts since coming back from his injury. I thought that actually, like you said, Harry, as the first inning was unfolding, I'm like, oh boy, this may be a really short return to the major leagues. Like this may not last long at all. And he figured it out. I think all in all, even though the Dodgers lost the game, which is a drag, it was a really good game, really fun game to watch. But he was really good. I thought that, just in the grand scheme of things, him being able to pitch as deep into the game as he did, 3 runs is not the end of the world. I mean, I think that he would probably tell you he could do a lot better, but I really do believe that if you would have said, hey, listen, he's going to go 5 innings, he's going to give up 3 runs, he's going to scatter a bunch of singles, okay, not so bad for the first time back on the mound. It's just the way that they were distributed. That first inning was rough, right? Like they kept hitting him. Now, the good news is not a lot of extra base hits. They were all singles. He was continuing to fire strikes. He was in the strike zone. I think that was a really important part. It's not like he was walking the world. And, again, a loss is a loss is a loss, and that's never any fun. But I really do think that was a very successful return to action for Tyler Glasnow. I thought he did a very good job after a bumpy first inning.
Yeah, those first 3 hits seemed like carbon copy of each other. Over to first base between first and second, just getting out to right field. And it's like, man, until Dubon finally golfed one to Kyle Tucker to score a run, it's like, all right, but everything is going out without being hard contact. Right. The stuff looked like it had the movement that you wanted to see in it. It was just baseball, man. Sometimes you have a great pitch and it still gets hit, and sometimes you had bad pitches that don't get touched. So it's the way that the sport goes. And at the larger, when you go at the bigger scope, Travis, 1 of 162, close game. It's the type of games that you're going to be playing in the postseason. Yeah. And you hope in the postseason, if you end up having the tying run at third base with no outs, you figure out a way to bring it home, right? Because the way that, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, those are the 2 guys you sent out there with the goal of having at least a sac fly, and you can't get it. Like I said, hopefully a game in late August is not the same way they're going to be playing in October, because you should be able to exchange at least an out for a run to tie the game and keep yourself in it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought that the one thing that was kind of like, oh man, that kind of stunk, was the top of the 9th inning. And the top of the order for the Dodgers, generally speaking, last night was not good. The bottom of the order was the part that did the damage, with Kyle Tucker and Hunter Fiducia. Outs Call had a couple of hits. Like this was the part of the order that generated the offense for him last night. And even though they gave up the run in the bottom of the 8th inning, I thought Tanner Scott was going to wiggle out of it. After that opening double, it's like, oh boy, here we go. Okay. And he battled and he got the ground ball back. He got the guy out of first base. You're like, okay, 1 more to go. And then Albies does what he does. Albies is a good player. I thought Scott actually did a pretty good job of, kind of battling back. But besides that, Ohtani leads off the top of the ninth with a triple. You're like, okay, tie game. You know, let's see what's coming up next. That you've got Freeman, Betts, Muncy coming up. You're going to get an opportunity to get that run in there, and they can't get it done. I thought of all the things that we saw yesterday. That was the part of the game. And again, not criticizing Freddie Freeman at all. Freddie Freeman is a legendary player. Didn't get the job done. Sometimes it happens. Mookie Betts didn't get the job done. Sometimes it happens. I think what was really interesting is they decided to walk Max Muncy, and that kind of tells you where the league is at large with regards to, they don't mess with Muncy. Like Muncy is one of those guys like, nope, give me the next guy. I do not need a part of this guy in my life. So they put Muncy on. Rojas can't get the hit, but I was disappointed in that top of the ninth inning because Shohei did what Shohei does. Big moment, big opportunity. He gets a triple, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, their big guys might not have had a big day, but they're gonna have a big moment at the end of the game, and they came up a little bit short. I agree with you. I thought that ninth inning was the one part I was like, man, that wasn't great baseball. That put the ball into the outfield, get a fly ball, do something to get that runner in there, and they just couldn't get it done.
Tyler Glasnow gave them a chance, Travis. 5 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 7 strikeouts in this game after a shaky start. But that first inning, rough. Second inning, he struck out the side, and it's like, okay, that's what we want to see from Tyler Glasnow. And I mean, for a guy making his first start after being out for 4 months to come in, throw more than 30 pitches in the first inning and still be able to go 5, I feel that was huge for the bullpen, especially starting this road trip, heading out in Atlanta, heading out to Detroit as well against teams that are fighting for their postseason one seeding, the other one their spot. That was big. Then the bullpen came in. Vesia, an inning, no hits, no walks. Dreyer, 2/3 of an inning, a hit, a walk, got into trouble. Evan Phillips got him out of it. Tanner Scott, he wasn't able to deliver in this game, but for most of the season, he has been able to be the guy for the Dodgers. And now, being the closer, you're hoping, well, he doesn't get those hiccups that he had in his first season as a Dodger. Another important and interesting element from this game, Travis, was who was starting at left field for the Dodgers. You had Alex Call as a starting left fielder for the squad, with Teoscar Hernández getting a day off, and Teoscar has been struggling mightily as of late, batting 172 with no home runs, 22 strikeouts, and 2 walks over his last 18 games. Dave Roberts wasn't going to throw him under the bus to say he was benched. It was just a day off, and he's going to be playing the rest of the road trip. But Alex Call, he delivered for the Dodgers. I mean, the bottom of the lineup for the boys in blue did. Alec Thomas, he's been a surprising good player for the Dodgers. He's gotten an RBI knock on every game that he has played for the Dodgers. Fiducia, Call, the bottom third delivered for the boys in blue. So would you go again with Call, or would you take Teoscar Hernández back in the lineup?
Well, I think the answer depends on what you plan on doing during October, right? If you are having conversations about, hey, look, we're not going to use Teoscar Hernández as our everyday left fielder in October, then I think you need to start getting Alex Call or Kike Hernandez or whoever it is that you're going to use in that spot more and more at bats to get them more and more comfortable, more and more sharp as you get there. If the plan is to use Teoscar, then use Teoscar. And by the way, I'm fine with that plan. I get it. The numbers that you just put out there, speak for themselves. They don't need a ton of context. He's really, really scuffling. That said, Teoscar Hernández is a made guy on this team. He has gotten a ton of big hits for this team. We know Dave Roberts, and he's not alone in this, but Dave Roberts is one of the managers that always likes guys that have been in the fire before. They really appreciate guys that not only have played in big games, but have had success in big games. Teoscar Hernández is certainly one of those guys. I'm a huge fan of Teos. I think most Dodger fans are. He's just an incredibly likable, positive guy, and he's a really good player. Now he's going through it, and if there's a decision that needs to be made, I understand. I'm not saying that everybody gets to stay forever, but I think Teoscar probably goes back out there. I think you give him every possible opportunity. And even in the postseason, I expect him to play. Now, maybe you kind of find a way to get Kike in there a little bit more. I don't know if that's in center field or in left field. It depends on whether Pajes is coming back. There's a lot of moving parts in this, but I don't think with, about 30 or so games left in the season that you pull the pin on the guy that's been out there for you every day. I think you let him roll and see what happens.
Yeah, Alex Call made it an interesting call, no pun
Yeah,
intended, with Teoscar because he got 2 hits. He got a walk. He got on base 3 times in a
that's what
very
makes
close game. And
yeah.
that's something that would, I mean, for a guy that sits on the bench for multiple weeks at a time to just go out there and be able to perform the way he did, that's a huge ups for Alex Call, who was a part of the trade deadline rumors if the Dodgers were going to get rid of him to get something in return, like they have in the past with other players, getting prospects that end up being then trade chips for the boys in blue in the future. But they ended up keeping him, and right now it's clearly the right call that the Dodgers made to keep Alex on this team. So let's see what goes on going forward. Roki Sasaki on the mound for the Dodgers today. Yoshinobu Yamamoto tomorrow. Let's see if they can salvage this one and get 2 wins to tie the season series with the Atlanta Braves and stop that approach that they are getting for second place in the National League. Right on their tails they are for the Dodgers, and the Dodgers as well trying to catch Milwaukee at first place. Frustrating when it comes to that 9th inning, but overall being able to see Tyler Glasnow back on the mound, seeing the bottom of the order produce, that was good. Glass half full. Glass half empty. You need the top of your order to deliver in the type of situation that they were. And Travis, here's the crazy part. When I was thinking about yesterday's game, I was like, man, Teoscar Hernández in this spot would be, I would feel good with him giving me a sac fly to right field, left field to score Shohei Ohtani, despite the way he's been playing over the last month.
Yeah, I agree. I think that he's what Teoscar Hernandez is he's a professional hitter, right? Like does he strike out a lot? Yeah. Does he go cold for periods of time? Sure. Not everybody's Freddie Freeman where you just get, a hit and a half every night and you just keep it rolling. It's not like that. But if you need somebody to go up there and give you a tough at bat, I think Teo is always a really good choice. I don't know if he's on that same level as a guy like maybe Max Muncy or Will Smith, who I know we're going to talk about in a little bit, but he's a really good option. I still trust him, even though he's very, very cold at the moment. But I don't worry too much about him. And I, generally speaking, you just kind of recapped a lot of this stuff, but I think it was a pretty good night for the Dodgers, in particular because Glasnow comes back. They didn't hit him hard. I know they got some hits off of him, but they didn't hit him hard. He struck out 7 guys. He didn't walk a bunch of guys. I think that the step forward back into the big leagues was 95% positive for him last night. So I'm very, very excited about the way that he looked. And like, they're going to score runs. They've got a lot of good players. This isn't exactly the team that they're going to play with, but this game tonight with Sasaki on the mound gets a little bigger because you don't want to lose the first 2, knowing that you got Chris Sale waiting for you in game 3. Tonight's a big one.
After allowing 4 hits in the first inning, 2 hits the rest of the way, no walks, 7 strikeouts. That's a pretty darn good day for Tyler Glasnow on the mound. So let's close our first segment asking you, our viewer, our listener, you watched Tyler Glasnow work through that rough first inning. How confident are you that he can become a major weapon for the Dodgers in October? And we'll throw a bonus question as well. Teoscar Hernández, do you play him today or do you give Alex Call another shot? Drop your take in the comments, hit us up on social, or also call, leave a voicemail, or a text to Locked On Dodgers to our listener line at 2793-LOCK. That's 279-356-2533. We want to hear where you stand. Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, another massive piece of the Dodgers lineup is getting closer to a return, and he started his rehab assignment with a bang.
Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with Daily Dingers. It is very easy to play. You just make your free pick for who you think will hit a home run in that game. If you're right, you'll receive a prop on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the MLB season. Daily Dingers is another really fun way to stay engaged with every day's games, whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on matchups across the league. Every of going through, now you have a chance to make your prediction before the first pick. I wouldn't pick anybody from the Dodgers right now. They are home run cold all of a sudden. Maybe you go and you pick somebody from the Cubs. They seem to score about 40 runs a game. So lots and lots of options out there for you right now. So are you ready to play your game? Join all the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a home run. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of Major League Baseball.
Are you new here? Welcome. Everydayers, you already know you're the heartbeat of our show. It's easy and free to help us out. Subscribe and like our content on YouTube. Leave a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify and hit up the Locked On Dodgers listener line at 279-3-LOCKED. Will Smith is getting closer. The starting catcher for the Dodgers officially started his road back to Los Angeles, and if you're looking for a good way to begin a rehab assignment, a home run will do. Smith went 1 for 3 in his first game with AAA OKC, and his one hit left the ballpark. It was a 2-run homer to left field against the Chihuahuas during his final at-bat. But Travis, the home run wasn't the only thing worth watching. Smith also caught 5 innings behind the plate, and he threw out a runner trying to steal second base. So it wasn't simply a DH getting a few at-bats and calling it a night. He was catching, he was moving around, he was involved in the game, and that's very, very important when it comes to a player that plays such a demanding position like the catcher position.
Yeah, you nailed it. I think that the most important part for him is can he get back and play? Not necessarily can he get back and hit. That's a part of it, but can he get back and play? And specifically, can he get back and play behind the plate? Can he do the things that need to get done back there, throwing guys out? And this is going to sound crazy, but I think this is a foul tip off of the bat that hits him kind of in the head, and how does that neck respond to that? The little bumps and bruises that you get behind there are inevitable, right? When you go back there, you're going to get hit with baseballs, and you're going to get hit in the head with baseballs. That's just the catching position. And obviously, as somebody that's dealing with a neck issue, what does that mean for him? So I think this was an incredibly positive step forward. You look at what the Dodger lineup yesterday, Harry, I thought was really interesting, because when you looked at it, it looked like a team that is the normal way in Major League Baseball, which is it's very top heavy with your stars. You got an Ohtani, Freeman, Betts, Muncy situation towards the top. But as you get towards the bottom of that order, there are some outs. It's Call, it's Thomas, it's Fiducia. And those guys have done a pretty good job of filling in where they need to fill in. But that's not the team that the Dodgers expected to have. Call is, a role player. Teoscar Hernández had the night off. Thomas is in there because your all-star center fielder is hurt. Fiducia is in there because your Hall of Fame track catcher has been hurt for a few months. This is a much more typical regular lineup where the 7, 8, 9 guys are a little bit of a softer target. You add Will Smith back in there, everybody moves down a spot, and now in a rough year, and now Kyle Tucker is down there, Andy Pajes is down there, and these are guys that are real threats. So Smith coming back is a huge part of what they're going to do. I think that in particular with the bullpen, I think it's going to settle some pitchers down a little bit. The Skubals, the Snells, the Yamamotos, those guys know what they're doing. They could throw to a backstop back there, and I think it's going to be more or less okay. But those bullpen guys, I'm sure, have missed Will Smith a little bit too. So really good news that he's coming back and getting ready to go, because he's an incredible, and of course, we haven't been talking. This is one of the most clutch players in the entire Dodger lineup, that because he's so quiet, because he doesn't really say much, we tend to, Rojas's home run or Kike's home run, or of course, Max Muncy's home runs. But Will Smith's the guy that hit the home run in the top of the 11th inning in Game 7 of the World Series. Doesn't get any bigger than that, and that's not the only big home run he's hit, so he can't get back here fast enough.
Yeah, you needed Miggy Rowe's home run to get to that moment. Right. Once you get to that moment, who's going to come through? And for the Dodgers, it was Will Smith. And a big part of this equation, Travis, is that he hasn't played since June 5th in a major league game. And his rehab, it was taken very, very slowly from the beginning. It had starts, it had stops. It was, he's coming back soon. It's okay. It might take a little longer to, okay, he missed half of the season for the Dodgers at this moment. And I agree with you a lot that I feel that the pitching staff has felt his absence in a big way, because while he was catching, they had an ERA that was just north of 3. And since then, those numbers have climbed significantly, both with starters and also out of the bullpen. So him being back, it's not just as bad. It's mostly, in my opinion, the way that he manages the pitching staff. And that's a big key. Catchers, usually it's like, okay, man, just give me a very, very solid performance behind the plate. If you can give me anything with the bat, it's great. And Will Smith will give you more than just anything. He's a very good performer when it comes with the bat in his hand. And that's something that as well, Dalton Rushing, when he was the catcher for the Dodgers for multiple months, he was a good performer with his bat. And now you feel that no disrespect to Fiducia and Rortvedt and Chucky Robinson and Eliezer Alfonso, the guys that have taken over while neither Smith nor Rushing have been available, but you just know that you don't have that as part of your lineup where your catcher is a threat for the opposition.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Rushing, because I think that's an incredibly important part of this as well. That, like, Will Smith might go to the Hall of Fame when it's all said and done. He's certainly on a trajectory that it feels like that's certainly a possibility. But I think the just as important is that the Dodgers realized, and Dodger fans realized, that Dalton Rushing's an everyday player. Like, if he had to play, if Dalton Rushing were your starting catcher, you've got a good Major League Baseball starting catcher. He can hit he can hit Major League pitching, and he can handle a pitching staff. Is he Will Smith? Well, no, but okay, that's fine actually, because like we just talked about, Will Smith is maybe the best catcher in the game, or at least he's in the top 2 or 3 or 4. Dalton Rushing probably starts on 24 or 5 teams in the big leagues. He's just on one of the 5 or 6 where he is going to have to be the number 2 guy. But when he was in there, the Smith story was, take your time. We're good. Take your time getting back here, because Rushing's able to hold this down. So not only getting Smith back would be really big, but if you can get Rushing back, it allows you to do some things back there. It's another bat off the bench that you can use. It's another guy that if you do need to juggle lineup, if Will Smith is dealing with a little bit of lingering issues from whatever injury it may be, you can put another guy in, and it's not a huge fall off. So getting those guys back is incredibly important, and it starts with, look, Will's the more important of the 2 players, but Rushing's not nearly as far behind. The gap from Smith to Rushing is incredibly shorter than the gap between Rushing and the guys that they're playing right now. The gap between Rushing and Rortvedt and Fiducia, it's noticeable. The gap between Smith and Rushing is far smaller.
And by the way, both Smith, Rushing drafted by the Dodgers. Incredible. Will Smith drafted by the organization a decade ago in 2016, Rushing in 2022.
Both Louisville guys, too. Both drafted out of Louisville. Yeah, they're both from the same part of the world.
Huge coincidence right there. So, Travis, it was good seeing Will Smith back in the thick of things. And you know that you want to get him back in the flow of the game. And even if he didn't have a home run, even if he didn't catch a runner stealing second, it would have been a good feeling just seeing him back on a diamond. Even better when he's able to get results and we can go and catch the highlights of the game and be like, all right, that's the Will Smith that we all know can deliver for the Dodgers. It's just a AAA game, but just seeing him out there, that's huge. And September's right around the corner, just 5 days away. And we're more than likely going to see him very, very soon rocking Dodger blue. So to close this segment, I want to ask you, checking out our show, do you think Will Smith's return can make a bigger difference for the Dodgers than almost any other player coming back right now? Drop your answer in the comments or find us on social. I'm at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, and on TikTok, you can find me at Harry Ruiz_. Travis, he's available on X and IG at Travis Rodgers. Next on Locked On Dodgers, we're moving away from the field because there are some big questions surrounding Mark Walter and the future of Dodgers ownership.
Big thank you to our friends at Amazon for this limited break. This back-to-school season, spend less on your kids with Amazon. We all know how crazy back-to-school shopping experiences can be. If you haven't experienced it, you probably will, and it is something. It starts with a few items on the list, and then suddenly You're shopping for, I don't know, everything, supplies, clothes, lunch gear, technology, and about 10 other things you didn't see coming at all. And it adds up very, very fast. When your kid's definition of need for back to school shopping is a lot different than your definition of need, somehow the list keeps getting longer every time they look at it. Explaining the need versus want conundrum this time of year has just become an annual part of the entire process. And of course, that teacher's supply list arrives, and somehow each item on its own feels completely reasonable. Then you add it all up and everything together and realize just how much stuff one kid needs for just one single school year. So remember, with Amazon's low back to school prices, just spend less on your kids, because every dollar you don't spend on them is a dollar you haven't spent on them. Shop back to school at Amazon and spend less on your kids.
Don't forget to check out Pete Fox on our YouTube channel with the Locked On Dodgers postcast with immediate reaction right after the final out of every Dodgers game. What's happening with Mark Walter? Over the last couple of weeks, you've probably seen a lot of discussion online about the Dodgers, Walter's business interests, the reported federal investigation, and what any of this could potentially mean for the team. And this is where we have to slow down, Travis, because there are a lot of different things getting mixed together. The investigation involving Walter is focused on his broader business interests. That does not automatically mean the Dodgers themselves are accused of violating baseball's rules. And that right there, I feel, is an important distinction, that if you go on social media, specifically on X, everybody's already blaming the Dodgers of doing stuff that is worse than cheating on the field like the Astros did back in 2017. So.
Well, there's a couple of things here. No, I agree with you. I don't think that, stealing signs is the same thing as doing some financial deals that may or may not be, transparent. I'm with you on that. Here's the thing. If the stuff that was done over here allows you to do different things over here, then I understand the larger point. And that's the thing that I think everybody's trying to untangle and figure out. I don't know how many of our regulars and our everydayers have had a chance to listen to the podcast that Jeff Passan dropped yesterday. And he talked to a forensic accountant. And just as an aside, Harry, here's a phrase you never want to hear associated with anything that you care about: forensic accounting. That's bad times, right? The bad things are about to happen when forensic accounting is necessary to go through what you're doing. It is incredibly dense. It is incredibly complicated, and quite frankly, it's incredibly boring to try to slug your way through. Well, this insurance company has reinsured this company, and this debt service is it's like there's a reason I do this and not that. It doesn't make any sense to me. Here's the part that really gives me a little bit of pause, though. This is the thing that makes me go, uh-oh, okay, let's see what happens next. When the Lakers sold as quickly as they did, the alarm bells start ringing like crazy. Like if you had to move, the Lakers are just as big of a deal as the Dodgers, right? When in the grand scheme of things, of premier sports franchises, they don't get any bigger than the Lakers and the Dodgers. They're premium Tiffany brands. That he had to sell them, bang, like that. That was a because clearly something's going on. That he needed cash very, very quickly, and instantly, I think every Dodger fan starts thinking, are the Dodgers next? I know the Dodgers have said no. I know Stan Kasten was just out in front talking to the media over the weekend saying, no, there's no plans of this. And fine, I will take him at his word. Did anybody think the Lakers were going to get sold? No. And so now all of a sudden we know that there's a cash shortage, that he needs to find cash to fund these other businesses because of the percentages that are allowed to be invested in affiliated things, because of the disclosure issues. Like there's a lot of stuff going on over there, and not one person, and this is the biggest part for me, Harry, not one person that understands finance really, really well, not one is saying this isn't a big deal. And I'm not talking about people, I'm talking outside people with forensic accounting, reporters, and I'm not talking baseball reporters. I'm talking financial reporters, business reporters. Not one person saying, guys, this happens all the time. This isn't a big deal. This is just you got to move it from A to B, and everything's fine. Nobody is saying that, and that's the part that makes me very, very nervous, because usually when you have a complicated issue like this, there's a, hey, this guy's a criminal, this guy's a crook, this guy's running a Ponzi scheme, and then there's people say, no, it's not like that at all. What it is this is the way that certain businesses can be structured. It's mostly, yeah, this doesn't look right, and that is very, very concerning to me, and it should be concerning to Dodger fans.
Yeah, and I started listening to that podcast. The thing is, it's so long, and with a baby at home and doctor's appointments and going to Raiders training camp and everything.
It's hard to
but
follow.
yeah, at the beginning of it, though, I started listening, and it's like, oh, it's high-risk investments that Mark Walter and his companies got into with some of that insurance money. I started asking myself, okay, the Dodgers, maybe when they did that investment, potentially it was a high-risk investment because it was the highest priced franchise in sports history back in 2014. Right now, the value or the price would potentially match what the Lakers sold for. And that would mean that the Dodgers would have been a multiply 6 times the original investment. The Lakers, they invested in them $10 billion or around that, depending on the percentage. That was the valuation of the team. They didn't buy 100% of the team. They got $2.5 billion out of that sale when it comes to just the net value plus of the sale. I was like, well, it might have been high risk investments, but they got a good chunk of change out of that just by putting their money into it. But that's just me. I'm no expert at all. I'm far from it when it comes to the investment world, but it just seems like there's people that are like, hey man, that's not the way that you use the money when it comes to what you have in your possession right now.
Well, there's 2 issues. Number one, insurance premiums, which is where the money comes from, right? Like you and I buy an insurance policy, we pay the premium, and we are understanding that insurance companies can take the premiums that you and I pay and they can invest them, but they're supposed to invest them in very, very safe endeavors and not high risk endeavors. And if you do invest them in things that are more risky, it needs to be a small percentage of what that money is being invested in, because, you know, if you and I need the benefit of that, it needs to be paid. And if it's tied up in riskier things, there's a chance that could not happen. Also, it needs to be disclosed that it's being invested in those high risk ventures. And that's another issue. It's not just that it happened, it's how much of the investment was in high risk. And it was, did you tell people that it was in high risk? And did you loan the money to yourself? Which is not necessarily illegal, but it needs to be disclosed, and it needs to be disclosed at the right percentage of these things. This is why it's complicated. This is why it makes my head hurt. This is why I like talking about baseball and not high finance. But it's complicated and it's dense, but it also makes you go, yeah, man, I don't know. I mean, it's complicated, Harry. And here's where I'll end on this. In this country, you're innocent until proven guilty. So I'm just going to sit back and let this thing play out, because I like going to the World Series. I like seeing my favorite team get all the good players. I like seeing Shohei Ohtani in a Dodger uniform and Yamamoto in a Dodger uniform. I love going to Dodger Stadium. I went on Saturday. I had a time of my life. It was awesome. And because all those great players and that great ballpark, it's a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I'm just going to sit back and let this play out. But I'd be lying if I said I felt like, hey, everything's fine. It sure doesn't feel like everything's fine.
It's in the back of your head. It's like completely different from the Frank McCourt situation, but it's what if the Dodgers get sold? But at two, it's like, okay, if somebody buys them, they're going to spend more than $10 billion on this team, and they're not going to nickel and dime their way through the team. If they're going to invest that much money, I feel that they're going to try to make money out of it. And another big part of it is there going to be a salary cap? Because if there is, then the value of the franchises are going to skyrocket, because they won't have to spend as much money potentially as, for example, the current ownership for the Dodgers do. So I'm on the same page as you. I rather talk about baseball, and talking about baseball, I don't care if the Dodgers are sold or not. My memories are, I've been able to enjoy 3 World Series championships. I've been able to enjoy this team play in 5 World Series from 2017 until now. I've been able to go to Dodger Stadium and watch World Series games and live a dream of a fan that I bet you, Travis, there's a lot of teams that wish they could make it to a World Series, let alone win a World Series, let alone win multiple World Series. And we've been able, as Dodgers fans, to enjoy that. Is there questions marks now around it with all this financial situation? Maybe. But at the same time, I know I lived what I lived. You ain't going to erase those memories.
I'll end on this. The memories are great, and I love them too. But if some little old lady needs her insurance policy and the money's not there, it's going to change a lot of things. And look, I hope it never happens. I hope that a real person, a real person in the world that has invested their money in one of these policies never gets the short end of the stick. I hope that that's never the way that it ends. But if that ever did happen, that's when it's like, yeah, man, I don't know. And I hope we never get there. I don't think we're close to that, but anybody think that the Lakers were going to sell in 5 minutes? No. And that's what I keep coming back to.
And so far on Passan's podcast, I heard about a lawsuit about 2 ladies being disappointed on the way the Dodgers invested money, but not
disclosure.
Yeah,
the
but
not the Dodgers.
Yeah, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, the insurance company.
Walter's company.
Yeah, so it's the vines twist back on top of each other a million different ways. It's not an easy story to follow, but it doesn't feel great. It doesn't feel great, and that's kind of where I am on it.
So they sued the insurance company for the way they invested money, but they didn't sue the insurance company for not having their money or the stuff available.
No.
So
this was a disclosure issue, and this was a percentage issue, not they didn't have the money issue. This is if I loan you $5, you need to tell me where you're going to put the $5. Like that. That's the issue, right? Not that you took my $5 illegally, not that you don't have it to pay me back, but if I give you $5 and you put 4 of it in your own company over there, you need to tell me that. That's kind of what the issue of this is. Yeah.
I agree with you. Hopefully Juan Sabuelita in Miami is getting the money that she deserves. The moment that stuff starts getting fishy, then even more questions are going to start getting answered. So let's close today's show asking you, do you think you should be concerned about his future with the Dodgers, Mark Walters, or do you think this is being blown way out of proportion? Let me know in the YouTube comments or reach out on social media. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On, which is celebrating its 10th anniversary, the #1 sports podcast network. We'll be back on Thursday to recap the Dodgers having Roki Sasaki and his huge glove on the mound as they try to tie the series in Atlanta. If you're watching on YouTube, stick around and check out the 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network channel. If you're listening on audio, make Locked On MLB your second listen of the day. Travis and I appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, keep it real, keep it Dodger Blue.